So, what we're talking about today is back to school, which
it makes me like my brain want to explode sometimes.
So, the first question I'm going to ask is just, have you decided for sure whether or not your kids are going to go back next year? And I'm going to start with Kendra because on my screen she's clockwise.
Okay. So I have one son, Wesley, who is 8. We had this past year have transitioned from an old school to a new school, just for location purposes mainly. And so he has severe asthma. He gets hospitalized with it. We have tested the waters with camp. Luckily, he has had 0 asthma issues since COVID hit, like since March 12th. We haven't even had to use his inhaler much, which is awesome. Mm-hmm. Right now, we are sending him back to school and continuing to the new school. Do you want me to say where it is, or does it matter? We're going to North Lake Christian. So he went to camp there for a week, and everything went well as far as how they distanced and how they did everything. So we're sending him back.
Great. All right, Amanda.
My daughter is 17 years old, so this is going to be her senior year. So she'll be going back to school for her senior year. I think it's a little bit different when you have a child that's almost an adult. The thing that we've been really kind of concentrating on is, you can't really control everybody, but you have to control your own safety. So things that she's doing a lot of is washing our hands more. And, like we go to the gym, and the gym doesn't always keep up with cleaning the equipment between people. There's people there that are supposed to do it, but they're more interested in talking to each other than actually cleaning the equipment. So wipe the equipment down before you use it, wipe it down after you use it, every single one. And I did it with her a couple of times before I let her go by herself. And it's going to be the same way, I think, in school. And, you switch classes and you get into another desk and you wipe it down a little bit before you touch it, before you sit in it. I'm hoping that there's going to be some more social distancing provisions so they won't have to wear a mask the whole time. But one way or another, she's going to be back in school.
All right, Tiffany.
So my older 2 are going to go back to school, to public school. I had been on the fence, very much so. I feel like we finally made a decision this weekend to go ahead and try it. So one of my sons has some issues, so we behavioral and just emotional issues from very long story, but I've been kind of in talks with his therapist, and from the beginning she has been very pro him going back because he thrives in, it's just better for him to be in a bigger environment like that, which has been my concern. So we did decide, I feel like the decision that I made is to try it. We're going to go back and we're going to see how it goes. If it's not working for our family, then I do have a plan if I need to pull him out. And I'll be ready to go. I think what concerned me about not just going ahead and starting is the fact that the school board has said that they want you, if you don't go in immediately, you have to sit out the whole 9 weeks, and then you can go in the second 9 weeks, which I understand for consistency with the classrooms and all that. But I think that was kind of the reason that we decided to go ahead and we'll try it. It would be easier to pull them out than to try to get them in. And then with my youngest, who was supposed to start pre-K 4 this year, and we are seriously considering not putting him in, just because of the fact that it's another source of exposure, I guess, for our family. And if they were all at one school, I think I would be more comfortable with putting him in, but I'm just unsure about where to go with that. So we are still kind of discussing exactly if he's going to go back or not.
Okay. Amy?
Oh, hey.
Sounded scary.
What was that? They're 14 and 12, so I let them decide. Well, not, I was going to have a veto, but they both want to do the virtual school. They don't want to. Harrison's going into high school, and he doesn't. I was like, really? The girls are at high school, and he still wants to stay home. Eli was much more like, nope, not happening. I'm staying home. But he is my one with autism, and he's like, he's thrilled with it. He's totally fine. They're both. I'm trying to get them into UVA. If they don't get into UVA, we'll just do St. Tammany Parish as virtual, which registration I think is Wednesday. So we'll see which one.
Can you tell us what UVA is? Is that a particular online school?
It's the University View Academy. So I did that because it's already online and been online, so they know what they're doing. Whereas St. Tammany's just like, let's just see how this goes. And Harrison is going to high school, so traditional homeschooling is not an option. Whereas it could be for Eli, but I work full time, and I'm like, I did the homeschool thing. I'm done with that. Although, everybody wants to homeschool, but and they asked to do that one. That's what their friend does, so they're familiar with it. It's not like it's new and scary. So.
All right. Okay, Elise.
So I have a 7-year-old, she's going into 2nd grade, and I have a 10-year-old who's going into 5th grade. Both of them are going back. I'm pretty certain our family has actually already had COVID. I actually had a positive antibody test a couple weeks ago.
Oh.
Yeah. So, I'm not banking on that as an immunity card, but I'm pretty certain that my kids have already been exposed to it. They've been in camp all summer. We haven't had any issues. And I need them out of the house. Just out of the house. Because even the 10-year-old, when he had his Chromebook over the 9 weeks, he was so unfocused. And he was constantly in my face, like, what do I do? What do I do? Or he was shutting down and not doing anything. And then the 7-year-old, she didn't want to do anything online. So they both need to be in the classroom with the teacher.
Yeah, I have 4. I have 4. 3 of mine have special needs, are in the public school for that reason. And the 4th one is just kind of quirky and different, and he goes to private school. Kendra knows him. And
Awesome.
so, but anyway, I'm worried about regression with mine, especially my youngest. So my youngest is going for sure, because I am worried about regression with him. The rest of them, I'm kind of playing it by ear. Like I said, one of our teachers just told us she's not coming back. And then one of mine is just, he spends most of his day in a regular classroom, and I'm concerned about classroom size. So I'm going to wait and see what they say about classroom size. 25 kids in a room sounds like a lot to me. I'm hoping it's not that many. So,
that's what we always have.
Yeah, that's what he's had in the past, but I'm worried about with COVID that's too many kids in a room. So, I'm probably going to be on the phone talking about options. We're lucky, kind of in a way, to have special needs, because it gives us opportunities to differentiate the instruction that not every kid's going to get. But, it's just, and the one that's in private school is in a little class, like 10 kids. It'll be fine. I think that'll be easy, by comparison. And he's ready to go back. As much fun as it is to learn on Zoom, I think they're all kind of tired of it. So probably have one that I'm not sure what I'm doing with him. And that's kind of weird, I know, but I've always just done what's best for each kid, depending on where they are at that moment. And so it might mean one of my kids stays home and the other 3 go. So that's it for me. What are you either most looking forward to, or what are you hoping to see this coming fall? Like what is like something like that you think the school should be doing, or something that you really want to see?
Hoping to see, and it's been a very difficult decision, because we thought we had made a choice, and then I wasn't so sure, because I thought in COVID, and everything is different now. Do I want to stick with familiarity? And I ask a lot of questions, and I I had wonderful emails with both principals of both schools, and really the administration. And, I think what I would most want to see, one thing I'm not worried about is North Lake which I'm not sure what the government mandate this week happening. I'm not sure what that will look like, if it's still in place in August or not. But North Lake is not requiring them to wear masks. But there are either two or three third grade classes, and there are less than 15 kids in a room. So I'm comfortable with that. I think they can social distance enough, seeing the classrooms and everything that I had did prior. I'm not worried about any of that. What I've been asking my teacher friends and my people who work in education is what the consistency is going to look like in the event of a positive test or an exposure inside the classroom or with a teacher. Because, for me, our school always felt like family. I could go in when I needed to. I could pick up the phone and text his teacher if I needed to. If they were having a bad day, I knew about it. And so I want that consistency as a parent for my child, who's extremely social but has always loved his teachers and really been immersed in a classroom. So I want to know, if that teacher gets a positive test, what's the protocol? If there's a positive test in the class, are they going to quarantine the class? What happens if that class goes into, are they going to, how are they going to work on that? And then is there a plan in place in the event we have to go to social distancing, to distance learning? Mm-hmm. So my research has found, and I've talked to public school teachers, I've talked to private school teachers, 4 different schools, is that so smaller private schools are involving the teachers in their conversations. They already have plans in place. Plans A through E is already done. But even the public school teachers have no clue exactly what all the processes are. And so trying to find those answers, because I think as women, we're fixers. We just want to fix it. We want to make it happen, and find out all the answers. I don't know. I just hope to see some unity in the school. And I actually really hope our teachers aren't forgotten about, because I don't feel like their voices are being heard a whole lot. And we're talking to the parents, because obviously the kids are the number one priority. But then what happens when these educators, there's a wall there that gets broken, and how are we going to fix that? I just want to see, I don't know how to explain all of that, but I want to see those plans in place and, what if scenarios answered. Yeah.
All right, Amanda.
I think, very similar. I'm hoping that I'm suddenly in the light now, so hopefully you can see my face. But it's also attracting bugs, so I keep swatting and stuff. I'm hoping this year, though, for some smaller class sizes, just to afford some social distancing. I think it would make it easier on the kids if they can sit in their class the whole time without having to wear the mask, put it on when they're switching classes, all of that kind of stuff. I think it would make it a lot easier for kids. That's really kind of what I'm hoping for. I've heard a little bit about maybe increasing the counselors or giving them more time with students, because there may be some issues where somebody gets really sick, a teacher or a student, and dealing with that, and it causes a lot of anxiety and things like that. And in the older kids, I hope that there's opportunities to still bring them together, like football games and things like that, do that. And with all of that put on hold, and there's so much divide over this whole health issue, that I hope that there isn't so much controversy in school, that the kids are actually able to, they're not debating all the time and stuff. They have their time together as, like lunch and those kinds of things to be kids, and not really debating over whether this is real or not, and, not wanting to wear the mask and, that kind of stuff. So I hope they have a chance to still be kids this year.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Tiffany.
So I think this is where it gets complicated, I think, because as parents, all of our kids are different and our needs are different. So I think like when Kendra was saying that she's hoping that in the classroom, since it's small, they can social distance. And that's the thing that worries me. So last year we got into a classroom where they were doing almost all work on the carpet, like the entire day. My son's class was like on the carpet, and then they would break off into these groups, and it would be like 5 of them at a table. And it's literally the first year that he came home and started telling me about other kids in his class, and he had made friends. And so now for me, it's like, now I'm paranoid that if they make them social distance and they can't have those experiences at school, that it's going to inhibit some of his learning and just his progression socially, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the hard part in all of this, is like, I keep telling my husband, you know, there just doesn't seem like there's a right answer for anything, because everybody needs something different. And then, you know, you throw in what the teachers need too, and it's just, it makes me like my brain want to explode sometimes. So I would like as much normalcy as possible as from last year. And I know that's probably pie in the sky and not going to happen, but I would just like it to be as close to normal as it was last year, just for the fact, I mean, honestly, selfishly, because my child thrived last year in the environment, you know? And so for me, that's something that just I worry about. And then also, same as I think Amanda and Kendra both said, is the teachers. You know, like, we love our teachers. I love the librarian and the principals and everybody that we interact with, and I'm worried about them. You know, I'm worried if they get sick. I know some of our teachers are single moms. Some of them are older. I know some have some health issues, and I worry that if they're there and they get exposed and they get sick and they get really sick, like, what is going to happen, like, long term, I guess, for them? Are they going to be given sick leave if they have to quarantine? Like, if they have to take, I mean, what if they really get sick and have to be hospitalized? Like, is that something that our parish is going to cover? Or are they going to have to take their workman's comp for that? Like, and then again, my brain just starts to explode. So I would just like as much consistency as we had, just if we can, as close to what we've had in the past. I would love if that could happen. If it cannot, I'm fine with that, but that is something that I would prefer.
All right, Amy, what's something you'd like to see?
Sorry.
Okay.
Definitely consistency. That's the main reason my kids aren't going to go, is because they were both going to go into a new school, which was a new, from middle school to junior high to high school. So that's a whole bunch of transitions and changes and life things that are scary. And I didn't want them to start it and then a weekend somebody gets sick and they're home anyway. So, you know, it was kind of like they need that structure. So I definitely hope to see some consistency. I want to see some normalcy. I hope these poor seniors don't get screwed. I mean, I just feel like it's going to be another graduating class that's going to lose their whole year. And it's like, that was devastating to watch. You know, I have a very close friend whose daughter graduated. It was awful. And I just don't want to see that again. But I have a feeling it's going to happen. But if we could get as much normalcy and consistency, and the teachers are going to get screwed, y'all all know it. So, I mean, let's be real, when are they not? So, I hope, I don't know how you can have consistency and normalcy and keep everybody safe. There is no right answer. So,
yeah,
I guess I hope just some normalcy from the kids' standpoint, because they don't deserve all this. So,
yeah,
I would love to see, too, piggybacking off of what you and Tiffany said, you know, hopefully there are some mental health training going on now. I know a couple of the schools have done it for their staff. But also these kids, you know, obviously, I mean, mine's 8 and he understands he needs to wash his hands, but a lot of these kids are going to need constant reminders of that. Mm-hmm. And then bringing in more counselors. I know with OWL's research, with our educational programs research, we know that for in St. Tammany Parish, as of not this past year, but the year before, There was so many kids per counselor in the junior high and high schools that they would have to see like 12 kids a day to see all the kids in the school. And it's not happening because they're busy subbing already. So where are we? I guess I'm wondering how do we as parents help with any of that? Do we write somebody? Do we talk to our or whoever, and policy, writing on how we get that? But I think there's going to have to be on a bigger scale. There's got to be some more money come in.
Elise, what are you hoping to see this year?
So I'm hoping to see a little better job done with the virtual learning. It was a hot mess for both of my kids. It got to the point where I was close to begging her first grade teacher to basically give me all her written materials because I couldn't print out every single worksheet. It was ridiculous. And she did, and I understand that they all got completely taken by surprise. But my fourth graders teachers did a great job of pivoting, but the learning wasn't something that the manner in which it was being done wasn't something he was good at.
Yeah.
And so, he's struggling, and that means I'm struggling because I'm trying to keep him focused, and they keep calling me and they keep saying, hey, I see, Owen didn't do this assignment. And it's like, well, we can't figure out how to do it in a Google Doc. I mean, they literally, he just didn't have the tools. So I'm hoping at the very least that they get them back in the classroom for a couple days a week, and they do a lot of training on how to do the work at home so that he can transition easily. And I don't mind having him at home for a couple days a week if he knows how to do his work and he doesn't get frustrated by it. And the same thing with the soon to be second grader. And I also want to see that the school system has some flexibility because, the current guidelines, at least for the daycares, is that if you have a positive test in the daycare center, the whole place shuts down for 2 weeks. That's not feasible with a school, like an entire school. It's just not feasible.
No.
Are they going to be doing temperature checks at the door? Are they going to be doing rapid COVID tests? Do you have to get tested every week? What are the gatekeeping measures going to be able to keep kids out? Because we know parents send kids to school sick.
Yeah.
Happens every
because of the attendance law. They need to they have to change the attendance law.
Yeah, and they got some dispensation from the attendance law last year, especially and the kids are allowed an innumerable number of sick days. It's that the parents can't afford to take the sick days, and so they have to send the kids to school. So it's kind of a bigger societal problem, in that a lot of parents don't have an option. That's why it just drives me nuts when St. Tammany Parish closes for a hurricane and we get like a gust of wind.
Cold.
It's like, I'm fortunate I can take the day, but there are a lot of people who can't. And so it's stuff like that to me is the biggest issue.
Yeah, okay, so at the top of my list would be there's no attendance policy whatsoever.
That was one of the things I was going to ask about.
Well, that depends on whether that depends on whether the feds suspend it, because that's a federal mandate. That's how they get their money.
Yeah, I mean that would be at the top of my wish list, because I'm one that will keep my kids home because obviously I do this all day. So I'm home. So if my kids are sick, I keep them home. I mean, always.
Yeah.
And keeping them home for 2 weeks would be easy for me if I had to do it. I mean, easy, that's probably an exaggeration, but it wouldn't affect my job. But, so that would be at the top of my list. I also hope, and maybe this is, they kind of gave us like a little hint maybe today that they might be offering this, but I would really love maybe a hybrid option. So that
Did you see that in the post that it said that?
I saw that they listed it. I was like, did you guys copy?
Well, it said that it basically kind of alluded to it hadn't been decided upon yet, whether it be, it said in school, hybrid learning, or virtual learning.
Mhm.
I thought that was tied to which phase we're in. So like phase 2 would be hybrid, phase 1 would be distance,
but
phase 3 would be in school.
yeah,
That's
so,
what my husband was saying. He thought kind of what Elisa's saying, that it would be depending on the phase.
Yeah, wait,
Yeah.
what was Amanda saying?
but I've heard a lot of people say that it was dependent on the phases, but then I've also heard a lot of people say that it's not, that it's just it's just a hybrid model where there's like 3 days a week you have at home learning and 2 days are in school, and it's all staggered for different, it's not,
That's the hybrid version.
right? And that would be great.
I have it pulled up. I pulled it up really quick. It says on August 17th, students will begin their regular school schedule, whether it is distance learning, hybrid, or in person. So I guess it's kind of, I don't know if they've come out and said, we're definitely going 5 days a week. Like, that's kind of what I have been waiting for, just to hear a definite, like, yes, we are doing 5 days a week. No, we are only going to do 3 days a week, or whatever. But I feel like that hasn't been said yet.
Yeah, because they haven't decided it yet.
No, they definitely said virtual. They definitely said there would be an all virtual.
They did say that there was a virtual option. Yes.
That's the only thing they definitely said.
It's an option, and you have to opt into it. But for those of us who don't, we don't have the information yet. And frankly, I don't expect to get it from St. Tammany Parish until the day before school starts.
Which is now 5 days later. It's okay. They got 5
more days to figure it out.
But a lot of the teachers, like on a lot of the comments, on those posts, a lot of the teachers are saying that, the plan is written, it's just waiting to be approved by the Board of Education, which is supposed to happen this week. So hopefully we'll hear something.
2 days.
Yeah.
2 days.
I would love for my kids to go a little bit less, like lower their risk of exposure, and also like, lazy me, like not having to get up and run everybody out the door.
I 100% would be okay with 3 days a week and 2 days off. And then, because especially if they're not going to be able to do field trips and things like that, I would like to be able to take them to the park or the nature trail or to Mississippi, to the Red Rocks or whatever. Like, there are outdoor things that we could take our own with. I mean, if you're able to do that, we would be able to take our kids to do, that would at least kind of like extend that. Cause that is one thing that worries me too, is that, not the same experience with school as far as like recess times and all of those little extra things that they get to do, like field trips and stuff like that, which obviously they'll all be fine without it. Like, I'm not up there like they have to have field trips or it's not right. Like, it's just, if it's my wish list, I love those experiences that they have in school. So if we had less days and I was able to kind of like fill that gap on some of it, I would be good with that.
I mean, honestly, if you think about your school experience, I mean, how many of us look back fondly on math class? I mean, I think the answer is probably, one person. But
I look back on choir and field trips a lot.
Exactly. It's, I mean, the school experience is more than just the classroom.
Exactly.
Which is part of the reason why virtual learning feels so weird, because it's just boiled down to just the instruction. And so, if you're going part-time, I mean, even if you're just doing, like going to Uncle Chris's to swim in the swimming pool, it's just something, to kind of, I mean, all work and no play, just,
Yeah.
So my daughter is, she stresses about these things a little bit. She's the editor of her school yearbook, or one of them. And so this past year was such a struggle because they outlined all of these pages, and then there's no prom, and they make the yearbook plan during the summer. So this many pages for prom, this many pages for graduation, so there was no prom. And then for a while there was no graduation, and then they're, like at the last minute trying to fill in all these pages. So she's been actually working on the yearbook most of the summer, trying to figure out what to do. But now they have the upcoming year as well. And so actually in a couple of weeks, they're going to sit down and kind of go over what pages they're going to have and everything, but they have no idea what to put in it. So you might have a yearbook of people who aren't going to be there. You know, how do you get pictures of all of these people who are going to be distance learning and, you know, that kind of stuff. And then on top of that, the seniors who graduated this year, they didn't get their senior prom, but they had their junior prom. So the juniors, you know, they're now seniors. They didn't get their junior prom, and they probably aren't going to get their senior prom. So they missed an entire experience that, you know, and I kind of feel bad for them about that. And it's almost like you kind of know right now, like, don't even put those pages in, you know. I think what they ended up doing was lots of people got dressed up in their prom outfits and just took pictures, and they asked them to send them in, and they just
because honestly that was the most fun part anyway.
Yeah.
Well, this is the Instagram generation here, so they really just need the pictures for the gram.
They just want the pictures anyway.
Well, they did. He was Instagramming people. Can I take your? Can I pull this picture and put it in our yearbook?
Yeah. Our high school is ours. They canceled prom while the girls were getting ready, like 3 hours before prom. So they all were already dressed up. So they all just went and did whatever, you know, because that was like the day of the lockdown. So they all went and did to dinner and all that kind of stuff. And we're like, well,
it's hard.
One positive thing that I've been actually really happy with the option to do distance learning is the foster girls that we work with. So I have one son, but I also run an organization where we help girls who are in foster care who are also pregnant. And I've got several 14, 15, 16-year-olds and who did not have the option and who were being pressured to just quit, where these girls want to finish school, and I think they give them 9 weeks off. But I love now that I've got 3 girls who are not stressed at all about trying to finish school. Like, that's been the rainbow in all of this for me, is that, okay, now we don't have to stress about trying to find you alternative measures, is that now they have an option. And that's awesome.
Frankly,
sidebar, there's a bunch of blankets in my closet for you, girl.
I know. We'll have another baby shower in September, if everything goes as planned.
Elise, what were you saying?
St. Tammany should have had this in place years ago.
Yeah.
Oh,
There are very vague options. They give it the same option as like an athlete who breaks his leg on the field.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. I mean, what happens the next time a Katrina comes through? You know, and we're all scattered to the wind.
Yeah,
that's
ridiculous.
Kind
of the thing that I have wondered is that, you know, this is not the first disaster that we've been through.
Rodeo.
Yeah, and you know, with Katrina, it was in the beginning of the year. So I think it almost gave us this like false sense of success, because it was like my mom was teaching full time then, and I remember her even saying like they just added a little each day, and they were able, like, I think they extended their school day by like 25 minutes. And by the end of the year, it balanced out, but she was able to add like one extra lesson a day. So like one day they did like a half a math lesson plus one, and then the next day they did like half a vocabulary or whatever, and she would just add. But with this being at the end of the year, it kind of wasn't the same thing. There was no time to like go back and catch up. And so I guess too, just going back to what Katie asked in the beginning about things we'd like to see, I kind of would like some kind of feedback in the beginning of this year of where my kid is. Like, I feel like he did pretty well. They did. I have 2 that are in public school. I feel like they both did pretty well. I feel like I was confident in certain.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm motioning to my kid who's singing a song in the room. Keep going.
My dryer went off a few minutes ago, so. But I would like some kind of feedback of where they are. Like, okay, are they 3rd grade ready, or are we still a little bit behind? Because just as a parent, I would want to. I'm not a big homework person. So if they don't need to do homework, I'm really not doing homework when they come home each day. So I want to know kind of, all right, do we need to do a little extra reading at night or a little more math? to kind of just make sure that he can kind of slide into school and be ready to go by like the second 9 weeks when stuff really ramps up and gets going, especially in third grade.
Mine is in the one that's in private school. He's going tomorrow, and he's doing an hour and a half worth of assessments so they can see how much he actually picked up during quarantine. And that'll be interesting. I hope it's just on math and English and spelling, because that's all we did. They're like,
I mean, that's basically what we did too.
No, they're going to make him do a science experiment. Come on.
I mean, they said Spanish
We did
lessons.
volcanoes one day just because I had baking soda and I had vinegar, and Katie posted it on the Northshore parent page, and I was like, "We're doing science today," and they were like, "Cool!" Like,
yeah, mine they sent Spanish lessons, and I'm just like, la 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 la, can't see it. I mean, that was just more than I could take.
I gave her the option. I was like, you got to pick 3 subjects. I can't get all this done. They had a science experiment, and I'm like, well, I don't have any of these ingredients. So I attempted to find something else cool to do, because I'm like, okay, I'm going to do the science experiment. And I went through Pinterest, the black hole, digging through, and I'm like, oh, how to make rainbow fire. That looks cool. And I'm like, nope, don't have those ingredients. So I click on that and I keep going. And before I knew, it was like how to make green fire, how to make a smoking fire, how to make a smoke bomb, how to make a chemical bomb. And I was like, I'm going to be on a watch list.
So she painted a dresser instead.
I know, we're just not going to do this.
Okay,
See,
so Elise?
I just had my kids count all their change so that they could pay me for the $3.99 to rent a movie on Amazon.
Hey, that's okay. I homeschooled, and mine did nothing over quarantine. I was like,
that's what I wanted to do, but the guilt was too much.
I talked to the teachers. I didn't just decide. I was like, look, guys, I'm working full time. None of us knows what's going on. It's like, oh, we're going back. Oh, we're not going back. We're going back. We're not going back. We don't know what's happening. I'm like, what do y'all really do the last 9 weeks anyway? Y'all take tests and y'all have parties. And they were all like, it's okay, please. Yeah. Oh my God, we're dying. It's okay. And I'm like,
The plus side of having a 17-year-old, she teaches herself.
So I think, Lewis is very self-directed, and then one of mine was kind of behind. Like, I could just tell he couldn't really understand the content, so I literally just made up my own curriculum for him. Like, you're gonna do this. We did addition until it came out of his ears, because that was what he needed to work on the most. And then like coins, we had to do coins, and I just made it into a game, and we would play it with his dad and his brother, so he didn't realize he was learning things. But not every, but I went to school to learn how to plan curriculum, so not everybody has that skill set, and nor should they. I mean, that's why
I did, and I still didn't use it.
And see, I was very overwhelmed by that. Like the first couple of weeks, when they were just sending a little bit, I was definitely one of the parents that was asking for more, because I was not a stellar student in school. I have dyslexia. It was not my forte at all. So for me, it was very, very overwhelming. And so to think about having to come up with stuff, I was very glad when they started sending more things, because I was able to at least be like, okay, this is what we're doing. I can follow this plan and move forward with that.
All right. So I think I have time for one more question. And I have a little person next to me now, but my last question is about your fears and what scares you, what keeps you up at night, or what scares you, or what worries you the most about this upcoming school year, and you're allowed to be as selfish as you want on this. If the thing that scares you the most is that your kid's not going to get to go to the prom, say that. I mean, we're going to be selfish, and what scares you the most? And for me, I'll start. I mean, for me, I'm just scared about getting sick. I'm scared one of my kids is going to get sick. I'm scared, they're going to bring it home to me, or give it to my parents. My dad has diabetes, and that's one of the bad things to have if you get COVID. So these are, and my brother's getting ready to have a baby. Well, he's going to have a baby in the fall. And, so those are my worries. They're all selfish. I don't want us to get sick. And obviously I don't want teachers to get sick and be out and all that. I mean, And I also don't want to be trapped in my house for another 500 years if we open these schools and then it just explodes, and like it just exploded with the young kids now, with the 20 somethings. Like, what if it explodes with the 8-year-olds next? I mean, how long are we going to be locked in our houses waiting for this thing to run its course? So anyway, those are my fears, but Kendra, you're next.
So mine are pretty much the same. I mean, with Wesley, in October is when he had his first serious asthma attack. And I didn't, like, it was so new and I was so unaware that I didn't even realize what was happening until we were about a mile from the hospital and he wasn't breathing. Like, scary, scary. Spent 4 days in the hospital. So that alone that's terrifying to me to have to relive that. And then we have parents who have extreme issues too. My husband's mother has stage 4 cancer. My dad's a bad diabetic. I have grandparents who were in treatment for cancer too. And so it's being separated, isolated, and then of course Wesley getting sick. On the more selfish side, that's the main fears. My sub fears are that I have to cancel my vacations because I really want to go on vacation really bad. We have vacations in September and October, just little mini trips. And I'm like, please, no, I need those so bad. I need those trips. And they're to see family. One of them is. And so I want to be able to go and not be worried and have to quarantine for 2 weeks before, so we can actually go and be together. And then I guess the other thing that would run along those same lines is I worry about Wesley's transition into this new school, and I want him to have that same consistency and for him to not be fearful and it not to reflect in his, I don't want him to have anxiety, and I don't want his grades to suffer and the hard work that he's already done and put in to be diminished because of this. So those are mine.
All right, Amanda.
I mean, I would love for my daughter to have a normal senior year. It's not the end of the world if she doesn't, because we've already prepared ourselves for not having that. I think what I worry about the most is that I think a lot of us are going to get sick. We're going to catch this thing. What I worry about the most is the ones who are going to get it worse than others for, whatever reason. Maybe they have some underlying health condition, or maybe they don't, and they get it worse than others. And having to deal with that, like the kids having to deal with that. When I was younger, one of my good friends died in a car accident, and that is not something that my daughter or her friends have dealt with yet. And that's a hard thing to deal with. And I mean, she's not new to, I had breast cancer this year. She dealt with that. She still managed straight A's, but it was hard for her. And so when it becomes one of her friends, that's going to be even harder. That gets really sick. And so I kind of worry about that, but also, she's 17. She's going to be dealing with these kinds of things, especially next year when she goes off to college. And, it's real life. So real life is kind of coming to high school now. And so that's kind of what I worry about a little bit more than anything. It used to be that you worry about, pregnancies and things like that in high school. And so now on top of that, you're worrying about, their friends getting sick and dying, it's a scary thought that it's a possibility, and not, it's a possibility more so than any other time.
Tiffany.
I think kind of similar to what Amanda said, I think for me, the beginning of the school year is always a little stressful. My son does not deal well with change and anything new. It takes him weeks, if not a month, to get acclimated, and it's a lot of phone calls from school about behavioral issues or whatever is happening. And so the beginning of school is very, very stressful for me to begin with. And every year I really try to be very positive and think like, this is going to be our year. Like, this is going to be the year he's going to go in and it's going to be great. And now it's like all of these thoughts are in my head of all of the extra things that are now getting thrown at them. And I guess it just feels a little discouraging because it's like, okay, I was really hoping this might be our year. And maybe it'll be next year, but I think for me, it's the uncertainty of everything always adds just an extra layer of anxiety for me, and not projecting that onto them, like trying to just continue to say, it's going to be fun and you're going to see your friends. And like, remember Miss Tebow at the library, and like, she's great. And when I literally feel like I'm like struggling to like keep my head above water just with worry right now. So it has been an exercise for myself too, to try to remember that there are a lot of things in this life that I cannot control. But I think just as far as worry, I'm just concerned. I want it to be normal. I mean, I said that earlier, and I kind of stick with that. I would like it to be more seamless, just because I already know in my head kind of what like battles we're going to have this year. And so we'll just have to deal with them. But that would probably be my biggest worry.
Hey, Amy.
Well, I'm worried I didn't pour a glass of wine since like 3 of y'all have been drinking wine. I'm like, man.
Sorry, I didn't warn you about that.
No, I love, there was a meme I saw today that was like, if you pour a glass of wine and you can taste it and smell it, you don't have COVID. It's like your own
Yes,
test.
there you go. That's my new plan.
That's how I knew I had it. I lost my sense of taste and smell. It sucked.
Oh, man.
That's so crazy.
See, but I'm on low carb, so I got to do vodka or Truly's. It's just not the same.
This is my one break, in my low carb diet.
Well, y'all drink one for me then. All right, I worry that there'll be no wine. I worry. I mean, I don't worry a ton for my boys because I'm blessed that they've been extremely healthy and they never get sick. So I wasn't super worried about the physical aspects for them. I worry about some of the emotional because they've already had the end of last year ruined. They were both going to have these transitions. So that's why it's just like, we're just going to do a virtual because I don't need to put more of that on there. And that's why I didn't make them do any schoolwork, is they already had enough stress with that I wasn't adding that on to them at the time. Their grandfather died a week and a half ago. So they've had a lot of stuff. So I worry that whatever this year is going to be really the new normal. And I worry that we won't ever get back to the normal. And I worry for all these little kids, like if your Facebook friends with me, I already ranted about that. I worry that Katrina babies were nothing compared to what these babies are going to be. And that's what worries me. And not so much the bigger kids and the older kids, but the little itty bitty ones that aren't even mine anymore. But I just worry about these preschoolers and kindergartners and these whole young early childhood age that's going to miss this whole play and touch and hugs and high fives and smiles that they're supposed to get. So I worry for kids that aren't even mine, but I worry.
That's great.
I mean, I worry that we don't know what's going to happen. Obviously we don't know what's going to happen. Life's not perfect. In life, bad stuff's going to happen, and kids can be resilient, but I worry that we're forgetting important mental health things because we're super worried about the physical, which I understand you should be worried about the physical, but like you said, how many mental health counselors do they have per student? I mean, I just feel like that's going to be a need that's definitely not going to get met because, well, we're all familiar with how the school system works. They're not exactly, proficient in some areas. So yeah, I guess I'm mostly worried about that. And I really want to go on vacation in October. Because let me tell you right now, we were like, man, it's in Gulf Shores, it's not in Florida, but I'm like, dude, if we go and then they cancel, you can't go swimming, or they cancel our reservations, that's not gonna be pretty. So I'm with you.
Yeah.
Elise, you have some fears about this upcoming year?
Mine is completely selfish. It is that I will be stuck at home trying to work 40 hours a week and teach my kids because it's completely distance learning. That to me is a nightmare scenario, because I can't, my job, I work for the federal government, and I can't just do things in the evening. It doesn't work that way. I have to be there. And at 7 and 10, they're not self-motivated. They're not able to do that. So that to me is easily my biggest fear, that I'll be not forced to make a decision, but I'll have to get really, really creative with how I do my time management, which means basically that I'll be working, pretty much an 18-hour day or whatever. That's my big fear.
Yeah. I was lucky this last time because I ignored my job for at least a month straight while I just got things going, and it was fine because nobody wanted to read about fun stuff to do with their kids because they were all stuck in their house, so it worked out fine. I was like, I'm just going to ignore North Shore Parent for a month, and it nobody was hurt by that. But
the good thing, there are maybe your retiring teacher will work on the side, be there for at least.
Hey, you never know.
I'm just saying, don't be surprised.
If we go to distance learning, who can I bribe to teach my kid?
Exactly. My friend said that. She was like, if we go to distance learning, I'm getting a full-time teacher, like at my house. Like I'm hiring, I don't care who it is, I'm hiring somebody to do it with them. And I was like, I don't blame you. Can we go in on that together? Like we can quarantine together and I will totally go half on that. Like
I think a lot of people
cash money.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on. All right, guys. Well, you did a great job. I think this was a good exercise. This is like a cathartic exercise probably for y'all, and hopefully it will be for other parents that are still trying to figure out for me, it was like I had so many emotions, I couldn't even put words on it. So I thought it would be good to talk, like, group therapy or something, but free. So thank you all, and I hope you have a wonderful evening. And that's it.